Welcome back to the Ed Morrissey Show podcast. Joining us as always, the Prince of Twitter, the Regent of RedState.com, Andrew Malcolm at AH Malcolm on the Twitterses, and of course over in the VIP section at Red State. I'm coming to you from where I usually come to you from, Central Texas. Andrew, I'm glad I could make it because it was looking dicey there for a moment, but thankfully I got here in time to get this done.
Good. That's fine. We would have waited for you, Ed, because you're such an important part of your own show.
It's about the only place I'm important. All right. Got lots to talk about, but first I think we should start off with, the big news from the weekend, which is the sudden death of Lindsey Graham. Has been in Congress for over 30 years, was a colonel in the Air Force Reserve. He's pretty much served his country his entire life. A lot of people, a lot of his colleagues are offering testimonials. A couple of jerks online or not, but Lindsey Graham to me was sort of an older school politician, a guy who tried to be courtly and open to debate and discussion, with a couple of notable exceptions. I mean, his righteous anger at how Brett Kavanaugh was being treated by the Senate during the confirmation hearings, I think, is one of his shining moments. But clearly, Republicans expected to have him around for a long time. He was running for re-election this year. It's really a loss, not just electorally. We can talk about that too. But I mean, this is a guy who can make things happen for Donald Trump on the Senate floor. It's a huge loss, I think, to Trump.
Yeah, very influential with his colleagues in the Senate, and I think with the president. And as you said, sort of an old school senator that I think we're missing. The Senate used to be a place where you could get things done. And they did, but sometimes nowadays they don't seem to be interested in doing that. They're more interested in having a fight over something. And it doesn't look any better if the Democrats were running it. Oh my God, what a clown show! I said in the column on Sunday that it was like a driverless clown car. And they were all drunk, so that actually used to be one of my favorite things at the circus.
The clown car?
I could never figure out how 15 clowns could get out of a Volkswagen.
I don't know. I don't know how 535 clowns get out of Capitol Hill every single day. So, I mean, it's...
Yeah, they can get out. It's getting back that matters. So I don't, in terms of politics, I don't think it's a risk that they'll get a Democrat to replace him, but in South Carolina. But the personality will be hard to replace. I had dinner with him one time many years ago, and with a group, and he was very smart. And unlike a lot of politicians, he was a good listener.
Yeah. He reminded me a little bit of Jim Inhofe, who I did get a chance to spend some time with occasionally. Jim Inhofe was another guy who could be a fighter, right? He could go toe to toe with you, but he was a very, courtly kind of guy. Again, I think maybe this is more something that you see from senators in the South, and I will say this. I mean, I've met some gracious Senate Democrats. I know people give me a lot of grief over this, but Amy Klobuchar is actually personable if you don't work for her, I guess is the caveat. But she's also very personable, and I met her at Marco Rubio's debut, I guess you could say, after he was first inaugurated. I don't think it said inauguration. I'm not sure that that's what it's called, but they have parties, and it's traditional for all the senators to go to all the parties of the people who are new members. I'd never heard that. And Amy Klobuchar was there, and I ran into her and introduced myself to her. She knew who I was, so she knew that I wasn't exactly friendly media. She was very bubbly about it, and she was very gracious with me. And she said she was there to try to talk Rubio into coming onto her subcommittee for something. I forget what it was, but it was interesting because it was very, it was
business like. Yeah.
yeah, but well, I mean, it's also sort of friendly. Like, I mean, it is the world's best club, right? There's only 100 members at a time, and it's pretty sweet to be a member of that club. Um, and I don't know that that's going to last, if it even has lasted. Graham certainly is that. Inhofe used to be in the Senate. He passed away a couple of years ago. But I think,
Rubio
at
was.
71, he
Rubio.
didn't. Well, but Rubio left the Senate too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But at 71, I think people expected Graham to be around a little longer. Certainly, I think Graham's family certainly did. And that brings us, of course, to his sister, who was his closest relative, I think his only relative, right? Darlene Graham Nordone, who just a little bit ago, maybe just about half an hour ago before we started recording this, Henry McMaster appointed to fill out the rest of his term. For the next 6 months. His sister will take over the rest of his term. Just smart politics in a couple of different ways. One is it really does honor Lindsey Graham. It kind of makes this Lindsey Graham's term all the way to the end, rather than somebody else coming in and doing whatever they want to do with it. But also, it takes it out of the mix for the special election now that they have to hold to nominate somebody else to run in November, because Graham had already won the primary. So they're going to have a primary, I think, in 4 weeks or 5 weeks, something like that. And they're going to have to find another Republican. And there's quite a few people who are interested in it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I have to be honest. Washington bores the hell out of me. So
this is more South Carolina, right? This is more of a South Carolina thing.
Subcommittee stuff, and the protocol and the arcane rules and all that stuff. It's just, I had to spend some time. It wasn't an eternity, but I had to spend a brief time in Washington many years ago, and it's a beautiful place, but oh my gosh, it's just full of unpleasant things happening with unpleasant people doing unpleasant things. It's just, and of course, because there's a huge cadre of reporters there, and because it's got to be an important place for them. I mean, it has to be an important place because they're there, and so we get an overdose of it, and then we get treated to how great they like the Nationals or the Redskins or whatever they're called now. It's just, it's like
The
Yankee
Commanders.
stuff. Yeah, all Commanders. Yeah, right. Anyway, so it's a shame. I found him to be a very respectable man, and of course, 33 years in the military. Holy smokes! It's what a service. So yeah, it's a shame he's gone. I agree with you. It's a great tribute to have his sister fill that out, and I guess we'll see what happens. So now we have his sister and Scott.
Yeah, Tim Scott now becomes the senior senator from South Carolina, and that's just an honorific, more or less. Tim Scott's been there for a while too. And this is an opportunity for some people to move up. I could get into this, but just very briefly, because this is sort of the inside baseball type stuff. It's South Carolina thing. I think probably the front runner there is going to be the Lieutenant Governor, Pamela Yvette, because Andrew's going to remember this. Pamela Yvette was running for governor, right? Up against Alan Wilson, who's Joe Wilson's son. and who is also the attorney general, is attorney general at the moment. And so Donald Trump had endorsed Yvette in the primary, and then it goes into the runoff between her and Wilson, and it became very apparent that Wilson was going to win this big. So Donald Trump endorsed Wilson too. And I think that perhaps Yvette's owed something here a little bit, but she's going to be running for it. Nancy Mace says she wants to run for it. There's word about Trey Gowdy. Nikki Haley might want to come back into politics to run for it, although I haven't heard anything specific about that. There's a couple other people. There's a couple of congressmen, I think, that are looking at this. Joe Wilson isn't one of them, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting in that technically it puts a seat at risk that Republicans didn't think that they'd need to defend. But honestly, this is a pretty Republican state, and anybody who is at least credible, and I'm not necessarily sure that Nancy Mace belongs in that category, but anybody who's credible is probably going to win the seat in November. But they're probably going to spend more money on it.
Yeah.
You know,
I
don't know what.
My favorite memory of South Carolina comes from 1999 and 2000 when I was working for George W. Bush's first presidential campaign. We spent a lot of time in South Carolina. We spent all the time in South Carolina after the New Hampshire defeat. But
Yeah.
my favorite thing about South Carolina was the Krispy Kremes. They had Krispy Kreme stores all over the place, and the Secret Service had someone assigned to make sure there was a big box of Krispy Kremes in their room at all times. And they let us, since I had a badge, they let us come in and steal a donut or two from now and then.
Well, that's not bad. I've had Krispy Kremes.
No, that's great. I tell you, if you can steal a donut, I wasn't calling it stealing, and I guess maybe I called it borrowing, but I didn't
appropriating. It's appropriating. You're appropriating a donut. You're issuing a donut tax.
This donut looks endangered, and for its own protection, I'm going to take it here with this napkin to another room.
Krispy Kremes, by the way, are awesome. For those who haven't tried one, you have to get one as it's coming off the assembly line.
And the Krispy Kreme stores, they have a lighted sign in the window, and it blinks hot when there's a new batch of them coming out of the fryer. Oh my God. Oh,
it's pretty amazing. They had one at the Mall of America when I was living in Minnesota, and even then I wasn't really supposed to be eating donuts, but every once in a while I'd stop in there and get one just as they were coming off, and man, that just melted in your mouth. It's just amazing. So
the patriotic thing to do.
It was patriotic. And speaking of patriotism, by the way, because I'm all about the segues, you were writing about this. Does the sight of so many U.S. flags terrify you too? Now, this is a Sunny Hostin comment where she feels endangered when she sees American flags. You know, I've got one. You know, I've got one over that shoulder. I've got a flag design behind me. Apparently, I would terrify Sunny Hostin if she ever showed up on this podcast.
I have a big one in the yard. I have a little one up on the mailbox. Yeah. It's you never know with that crowd whether they're just saying something for showbiz or whether they really believe it. But it's just so pathetic that someone would say that. And of course, she got a lot of attention for it. And I guess if getting attention, even though it's negative, is your thing, I guess she was successful. But you may have noticed that I didn't mention her name much. So
yeah, you really didn't want to give her too much attention, and that's good. That is good. But I'll give her some attention here because I think this is absurd. There's never been a symbol that has represented the liberation of so many people as the American flag. Not just ourselves, but all the nations that we liberated ourselves, especially in World War II, but in other places as well. And the idea that this is somehow a symbol of oppression or colonialism, which really cracks me up, is a nonsense reading of history. It's a nonsense hatred. It's a self-hatred. And look, I think there are symbols in American history that are far more problematic than the actual American flag. And I've
Yeah.
had issues with some of those symbols before, and I know some people defend them, talking about the Confederate flag and that sort of thing. I'm a Northerner. I live in Texas now, but I'm at heart, I'm a Northerner. I was on the Union side. And so for me, I mean, the flag has always been a symbol of liberty. It's been a symbol of freedom. And I guess if you are very steeped in the elite education that we are delivering, I wouldn't even call it education, the elite indoctrination that we are delivering these days in the guise of education, then yes, the idea of freedom and liberty might scare the hell out of you. That's
Yeah. Good
basically
point.
where I'm at with that. But you had a
Yeah.
great column on this, a
Good.
great
Good point.
commentary on this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was struck. I was also struck by the Plattner thing, which is getting old in my mind. But
Well, I was going to bring that up next. Actually, is I
yeah.
wonder how she would feel surrounded by Nazi Totenkops.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. It, we could talk about Plattner and that situation, but to me, the whole incident, the whole picking of him by 156,000 people, good Lord, voting, and then everyone endorsing them, of course, Bernie Sanders. But I guess Schumer did not endorse him. But everybody endorsing him, to me, speaks to the pathetic state of the Democrat Party now. It's just they're just lost with as long as Trump is around or his party. They're just hopeless. They have no ideas, nothing new. They go for pathetic stunts. Hakeem Jeffries posing with a baseball bat and saying people should take to the streets. I mean, it's just so to me, for now, they've forfeited their right to be a viable alternative party. But I suppose they'll do well in the midterms because that's what happens in our political cycles. But
I'm not so
geez.
sure. I'm not so sure.
Well, I hope you're right. You would like to think that there was a chance that people would say, "Look, I don't like Trump, but geez, these clowns, I can't vote them in." But it's not really about Trump this time. It's about their individual representative, and was it 90+% of the House seats now are in safe districts. So it's not. It doesn't seem likely that things are going to change much, but they could.
Well, and the thing about Plattner is I think that it ended for the Democrats in the worst possible way, which is to say that they didn't actually peel him off that thing. They had to wait until somebody actually came forward and said rape before they would take him off the ballot. I mean, there was almost nothing else other than that ended up putting them in motion. You had Lindsey Fifield, who's a friend of mine from quite a while back, who said that he was violent with her. He held her in a room against her will.
You said that Plattner was violent with her.
Plattner, yes, I'm sorry. That Plattner was violent with her. Thank you. Be specific. Always define your references. That Plattner was violent with her. That Plattner had held her against her will at one point, and that there was plenty of corroboration for this, and the New York Times tried to monkey with this story so it made her look like a partisan attack dog rather than actually alerting people to who Plattner was. And that was one reason why the other woman who had been mentioned in the New York Times article by name came forward and revealed the rape episode, was because she was angry over how the New York Times had allowed Lindsay Fifield to just twist in the wind. This is Jenny Rasico I'm talking about. So Democrats really don't get credit for taking this guy off the ballot. But here's the problem for them is that this is kind of a replay of what they did 2 years ago, almost at the exact same time with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, right?
Exactly. That's what I was exploring in the column.
Right, exactly.
Does any of this sound familiar, folks? And Ed, there's another little hidden gem in this. If you're going to release damaging opposition research on a candidate, like encourage the rape victim to come forward, you're going to do it close to the election. Okay.
Yes.
You're not going to have the damage come out in July for a November election. But wait, there's more. The Politico published the rape story, and we'll never know who handed them this story now. But the liberal Politico released the rape story on Monday, exactly 1 week, almost to the hour, before the deadline to switch out candidates. And within minutes, literally, every Democrat, including the main Democrat party, Schumer, Sanders, Khanna, all those people were like, oh, he needs to quit. So this was a very handy, I suspect, coordinated or choreographed exit by him. He deserved it, but it enables them to put somebody else on the ballot against Susan Collins, who is, as I said in the column, who is the Houdini of GOP politics, the only Republican in New England.
Well, here's the problem for them, though, in Maine, is that it was already a tricky thing for them, considering that they're going to have to go up against Susan Collins, who's not a MAGA person, right? She is the most leftward person in the Republican caucus. And she's a centrist. She's not really a progressive or even a liberal. She's a centrist and has been. So it's very difficult for them to make her into some sort of radical MAGA person. They're going to try, but it's not really going to work very well.
No, they got to stick her. They got to stick her with Trump and get the anti-MAGA people in.
She's voting over the fact that she voted with Trump. The problem with it is that the big issue here is Brett Kavanaugh, right? Which is 8 years ago. They're still crying about what happened 8 years ago with Brett Kavanaugh, and I don't think anybody really cares about it, except for the hard left in Maine and elsewhere. I mean, I don't think Maine voters, I don't know, are they Mainers? Are they Manians? Are they maniacs? I don't know. I have no idea.
Mannequins.
They're mannequins. There you go. I don't think Maine voters really, I don't think that they spend their days thinking about that. They're worried about inflation, and that's going to be an issue. The economy is going to be an issue, and that's fair. But these guys are obsessing over stuff that Susan Collins really doesn't have a lot to do with. And they're going to have to find somebody now who is still going to be stunk with the stink of Graham Plattner no matter what, because these are the same people who were a hot minute earlier were saying, oh, Plattner's changed. He's good. He's redeemed himself. He's, Ro Khanna saying, oh, he just needs grace and redemption, and it's up to voters to give it to him by giving him a Senate seat for some reason. All the
And the
same people are going to
party,
be
and
coming out and
yeah,
saying
I'm
the same
sorry.
thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And the
Nope.
party forced out Mills, the governor, the successful two-term governor,
Yeah.
who, she's 76, and they want somebody younger, but successful Paul, but they squeezed her with no donations, so she had to quit. So she'll give them the thumb to the nose about saving their bacon, I suspect. But they have till the 27th to pick somebody new.
Yeah. They have till the 27th. They're going to hold a nominating convention. And, this is, I
But this
guess
is
it's,
like 2024 with the Democrats again, right?
it is. It is. And this
They've
is,
got 600 selected people who are going to pick the alternative, like Nancy Pelosi picking the alternative of what's her name, the salad queen.
yeah. I mean, to me, this is the problem that they're going to have with this is that, and I don't want to say that it's an illegitimate process. It's not an illegitimate process. It's representative democracy. It's basically a convention. But honestly, they should probably at least try or work on some sort of vote. I mean, it's once again, they've created an issue where their own candidate, their chosen candidate, turned out to be not able to answer the bell for whatever reason, not able to answer the bell. And now they want 600 party insiders to pick the replacement. And it might end up being Janet Mills. I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of doubt it, but it might end up being Janet Mills.
It's the clown car. I mean, these guys,
Yep.
it's like Biden. Whatever they touch, it gets screwed up.
Yeah.
And that's something they're going to have to live down. I understand people, well, I'm a Democrat, no matter what. But, geez, if you're thinking about the country, which I think more of us have to do these days, it would be wise to have avoided this. This is all self-inflicted, just like the Biden thing.
Yep. It's entirely self-inflicted. Speaking of self-inflicted, it's time to get into the jokes of the week.
Yes.
That is what we are going to afflict ourselves with. So I'm going to let you go first.
Well, I have two. One is, these are all old, of course. One is Conan O'Brien, and he says he's talking about 2012, and he said Mitt Romney says that Obama is pandering to Latinos. The White House laughed and says the president cannot comment on that because he's busy watching Telemundo and eating chalupas. And my other one said Seth Meyers, and he says President Trump had a campaign rally in Minnesota this week. Long story short, we're now in a trade war with Minnesota.
Oofta. You don't want to be in a trade war with Minnesota. Okay. I got one for you quickly here. All right, there's an atheist swimming in the ocean, and all of a sudden he sees a shark in the water, so he starts swimming furiously back to his boat. As he looks back, he sees the shark turn his head towards him, and he's scared to death. And he sees the jaws of the great beast upon him, and he screams, "Oh God, save me!" In an instant, time is frozen, and a bright light shines down from above. And the man's motionless in the water when he hears the voice of God say, "You're an atheist. Why do you call upon me when you don't even believe in me?" Well, the guy's confused, and he's knowing he can't lie, right? And he says, "Well, it's true I don't believe in you, but how about the shark? Can you make the shark believe in you?" The Lord replies, "As you wish." And the light retracts back into the heavens. The man feels the water move again. As the atheist looks back, he can see the jaws of the shark start to close down on him, and all of a sudden, the shark stops and pulls back, and the atheist says, "Oh, this is great." And then the shark says, "Thank you, Lord, for the food which we are about to receive." So that's kind of clean. That's kind of clean. All right, man.
Yeah.
Gotta run, but we'll be back again next week, I think. And if I'm here on time, back here again next week. And we will talk then, sir.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Thanks, everybody. See you then.